Operation Heavy Metal just dropped, and with the new season comes a lot of new operator nerfs and buffs. So in this video, I'm going to be teaching you what operators you need to start playing for this season. Coming into my number 5 spot is going to be Lion. Now if you take a look at his loadout, you can actually see why. He has a assault rifle with 50 rounds, 44 damage, and okay fire rate with a 1.5 or 2x scope depending on what you want. This thing has very little recoil, so overall it's great for newer and existing players. He also has one of the best DMRs in the entire game, as well as the second to best shotgun in the entire game, so overall his primary loadout is pretty exceptional. He also has two pretty okay choices between secondary handguns as well as a Gon 6. Personally, especially if you're running a 50 round drum mag primary weapon, you want to run the Gon 6 because you're not going to be worried about running out of ammo that often. Also, not only does he have bulletproof destructibility, but he also has flash grenades if you want to burn any ADSs or my discs or Rooney gates sitting in between you and the thing that you want to destroy with your Gon 6. If that isn't good enough for you, he also has EMP grenades to help his teammates get the wall. So overall, he's extremely versatile when it comes to if you want to be a fragger, maybe with flash grenades, or if you want to be a support operator, maybe with EMP grenades to help your teammates get the wall. He also has a very low skill floor ability with a very high skill ceiling, making him overall an outstanding operator for every single type of player. If you're new, if you're bad at the game, or if you're well experienced and you're good at the game. As you can see, he has one of the most versatile loadouts out of anybody on the attacking side right now, so he definitely deserves the number 5 spot, or maybe even higher depending on what you value in an operator for this top 5 list. Coming into my number 4 spot is Flores. Now I've talked about in my underrated operator video, which you should check out in the top right here, that Flores is a slept on operator, and especially this season, now that they're taking away Iana's frag grenades, he's going to be even more valuable. Why is he going to be even more valuable? Well, there's only going to be 3 operators in the entire game with frag grenades, meaning it's going to be a lot harder for people to destroy bulletproof utility, like zombie barricades, barbed wire, deployable shields, or any other thing that needs explosives. Flores can bring explosives, with his only counter really being Mute and Mozzie. Flores can be an outstanding operator if you're still trying to destroy bulletproof utility, but maybe you don't want to do it with frag grenades, or you're just out of options and you're tired of playing Iana. Either way, he's an outstanding operator that most people don't play. He's very easy to play and has a pretty good loadout, which I'll go over right now. He has the AR-33, which can be a tad bit underwhelming when it comes to fire rate, but in every other aspect, it's pretty good. Low recoil, 1.5 times scope, 41 damage with 25 bullets. Overall, a pretty okay AR. He also has the SR-25 DMR, which is pretty good, 61 damage with 20 bullets, very little recoil, and every scope that comes on every single DMR. Personally, I like this option more, but to each their own. Overall, pretty good primary weapon options so far. He also has the GSH-18 handgun for his secondary option. It's the only one that you can equip, but still a good secondary weapon nonetheless. Lastly, he has flash grenades or claymores. Obviously, you're going to want to run flash grenades in most scenarios, as it is just the better option for a secondary gadget, but I think flash grenades on an operator, especially like Flores, that you can use to burn utility when you already have an operator that is meant to destroy utility, is very powerful. Not only this, but he has the 1.5 times scope, and he's not a 3 armor, meaning you can use his flash grenades just to get kills at the very least, which means he's very flexible to any sort of playstyle. If you want to be a fragger, you can do it with Flores. If you want to maybe destroy bulletproof utility so that you can frag, you can do it with Flores. If you want to play more as a support by just getting utility and holding long angles with maybe his DMR, you can do that as well. As you can see, there's more of a trend going on with these operators where if they're more flexible to an assortment of playstyles, they're going to be higher on this top 5 list, like you saw with Lion and like you're seeing with Flores now. Overall, he's very flexible, he's very good for this meta, and he's very easy to use, which is why I put him in the number 4 spot for this list. Coming into my number 3 spot is Ram. Now, unfortunately, at the time of this recording, the test server is down, so I can't actually give you a picture or a breakdown loadout on screen, but I'll have my editor try to put something up for you. With that being said, Ram is an outstanding operator. She, on release for the test server, had probably the best operator loadout out of anybody that's been released in like 2 years. She is the best vertical play operator by far, unless you're trying to play below, in which case Buck is better. But even then, she still brings so much that I think it's worth going over her loadout first. First of all, she has an R4C with a 1.5 times scope or a 2x scope. If you know about the R4C and you've been playing Ash, you know this gun is absolutely outstanding. Not only this, but if you don't like the R4C, you can always bring Zophia's LMG as well, which also has the 1.5 and the 2x scope equipped. The LMG with 150 rounds can be outstanding on an operator that is meant to play vertically, because you can just absolutely rain down hellfire on any opponents that is below the vert that you create. She also brings smoke grenades, which is cool, and it pairs well with her utility because she is meant to get the bomb down in most scenarios because her gadget makes so much noise. Pair that up with smoke grenades to cut off lines of sight, and you can easily get the bomb down with Ram, which is what, again, she is meant to be doing in the first place. She is outstanding for creating vertical play, as well as being one of the safest operators to do so, because you don't even need to be next to your vertical when you make it, like an operator with Sledge, meaning that she can't really get nitroed from below. Her ability also is uncounterable unless you have impact grenades or you're upstairs next to the gadget able to shoot the canister, in which case you as the operator can just shoot the defender trying to do so, making her almost uncounterable and very effective when you do use her. Also, with the newly added shotgun buff, her secondary shotgun, which she does bring, is even more powerful. You can use it for kills in case you run out of ammo on your primary, maybe because you're using the R4C, or if maybe your drone misses a spot whenever you're trying to create vert, you can use the shotgun to then open up what you need to open up, so that your drones aren't the only limiting factor in what you can open up with vertical play. Overall, she's very versatile, and even after the nerf where they took away her hard breaching charges and one of her drones, she is still an outstanding operator. So if you aren't playing her, I definitely recommend you play her, and I definitely think she deserves the number 3 spot on this list. Coming into my number 2 spot is Ace. Ace is by far the most versatile hard breach that you can have for a solo queue environment, meaning that for solo queue players, he is the best hard breacher that you can play. Not only does he have great potential for opening up walls, but he's also the only person that can effectively counter a bandit trick without you needing a Thatcher, because his breach opens up the fastest compared to any other breach. He also has arguably one of, if not the best weapon in the entire game, the AK-12, with a 1.5 times scope. Speaking of his guns, let's go into his loadout so I can further show you why he is such a good operator. Again, the AK-12 with a 1.5 times scope. If you don't know how good that gun is, just trust me, it's one of the best guns in the entire game. Not only that, but because the shotguns in the game got buffed, if you don't want to run that, maybe the recoil is a bit too much for you, you can run the M1 shotgun. Not one of the best shotguns in the game, but with the newly added shotgun buff, it is still pretty viable. He has the P9 handgun as a secondary pistol, which is a well-rounded pistol, not too great, not too bad, but definitely enough if you have the shotgun equipped and maybe you need a long-range option, or if you just run out of ammo in your primary AK-12. He then has breaching charges or claymores. Depending on the map and depending on your playstyle and depending on what your teammates are bringing, you can bring either or. They're both pretty low-tier secondary gadgets, which I think is fair because he has such a good primary gadget. Like I said, he has the fastest breach out of anybody in the entire game. Not only that, but if you pair up 2 at a time on one side of the wall, you can get a thermite-sized breach that opens up even quicker than a thermite could ever do. And it counters bandit tricking, like I said, so he's just really good for this meta. The ability to frag out if you want to, or to get walls if you want to, allows him to be flexible to an assortment of playstyles, which, like I said, is what makes an operator really good, and is what makes an operator able to be on the top 5 list. So if you don't play Ace, I definitely recommend you start this season because he's very effective for the current meta. Now before I get into my number 1 operator that you need to start playing for this current meta, I'm going to go over 2 honorable mentions that you might have wanted to see on the list but didn't quite make the cut. My first honorable mention is going to be Zero. Now, a lot of people think that Zero is a great solo queue operator, which in some certain scenarios, he is. If you're constantly watching your cameras, he can be good. The thing about it though is if you aren't watching your cameras, he can be useless in a solo queue environment because most of the time you cannot trust your teammates to watch cameras. In a game where the majority of players are silver and gold, you know that this is probably the case. Your teammates just aren't watching cameras. So to say that he is an outstanding operator isn't really fair to the majority of the player base. Now sure, in high elo, when your teammates naturally just watch cameras, or maybe you're watching them to watch flanks, then sure, he can be outstanding, but you have to think about the majority of the player base, and the majority of the player base is not watching your cameras, making his ability effectively useless. He has good guns and can openers, but essentially, he's useless unless you have good teammates. My second honorable mention is Thatcher. Thatcher is only good if he is unbanned, but 80% of games, he is banned, so you're not going to be playing him a lot, and I don't think it's fair to put him on a top 5 operator list, especially operators that I'm telling you you should try to learn, if you're never going to be able to play the operator that I'm telling you to learn. For this reason, I didn't think it was fair or viable to put him in the top 5, but if you want to put him in your personal top 5, I can't really blame you. Now that I've gone over the top 4 best attacking operators, I'm going to go into my number 1 spot. Out of all of these operators here, the number 1 attacker that you need to start playing for this new season is Dokkaebi, without a doubt. Dokkaebi's ban rate has gone up significantly these past 2 seasons because people are starting to realize her potential. The only thing holding back Dokkaebi from the majority of the player base is the fact that her weapons are extremely hard to use. The DMR kind of sucks to use if you suck at using the DMR, the Boss G also not a good weapon, the SMG-12 hard to control, and the C75 Auto just not being a reliable gun in most scenarios. But if you can get good with her weapons, she can be one of the best operators in the entire game. We talked about with Lion how versatility can be outstanding. She has so much versatility. She has 3 options for her secondary guns. A Gon 6 can also destroy bulletproof utility, which is outstanding, but also look at her secondary gadgets. She has smoke grenades if you want to get a plant down, she has EMP grenades if you want to get a wall open, and she has flash grenades if you want to roam clear with your ability and get kills so that you can hack all of the cameras. All 3 are completely viable depending on what you want to do in the current round. Most times for me though, I will be bringing the EMP grenades if we don't have a Thatcher on the board. If we do, however, I like to bring the flash grenades because then I can call, and if I hear anybody's phone ringing on the roam, I can flash them and get an easy kill, which happens a lot more than you'd think. Not only is her call really good for roam clearing, where site executes so you know where they are and you're able to kill them, but also if you do successfully call and kill a roamer or anybody on site, you can then hack their phone and get all of the defender cameras. This is wildly powerful and is one of the best abilities in the entire game. Not only this, but if you do call, it makes it to where even dead people can't view cams, as well as anybody who is alive on the defending side, they're not able to view cams either. Overall, Dokubi's pick rate and ban rate have completely soared because of the reasons that I've outlined for you, and that is why she is the #1 attacker that you need to learn and start playing for this new season. Let me know down in the comments if there was an operator that I missed or that you think deserved the top 5, and that's it for the video. Check out this video where I go over all of the other patch notes that came with the season so that you can be better prepared for your ranked games. My name's Alka, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.